Everyone, and welcome to our Sequester Season 4, Episode 4 recap. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and joining me today is Josh Wigler. How you doing, Josh?
Stop right there! There's no wand off. I want to just let you know right away, before you go any further, that is all the singing that's going to happen.
That's it.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Just because I'm here doesn't mean there's a wand. It's not happening. Other than that, other than the intense nervousness that's associated with that, I'm doing great.
If you played Sequester, you'd be hoping for a singing battle match.
Yeah, I think so. I think a song parody battle match would be good.
How would that work? Would we get judges?
Yeah, I think so. I think you get a judge. If you've got someone who could perform like a seance and summon the ghost of Casey Kasem, I think would be good.
Yes.
Would be ideal if there's like an occultist in the cast who could judge the song parody. I think that would be. I did think of a wand off for what it's worth. I thought that Billy Joel's Pressure would be pretty good for Sequester. Sequester!
I mean, yeah.
And, Spencer's right. Spencer! I thought about that about like a half hour before we came on here. It's like, no, Wigler, you're in semi-reality TV retirement. Don't do this. You could put the idea out and someone more talented than you can pick the ball up and run with it. But it's out there. That's earwormed in my brain, so now it must be in yours as well.
Okay. Well, also with us tonight is Mari. How you doing, Mari?
How you doing, Taran? Are you sure I'm your co-host? Or are you sure you don't want to pick Josh Wigler?
Listen, Mari said.
Can I talk you out of this?
Hold on.
I don't know.
Josh.
But Mari did.
But I said Mari. So.
Wait. Okay, go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we can do this for about 18.
Doesn't make sense to not pick Mari. We're gonna want Mari in the co-host spot later on. Definitely.
Josh is right there.
Yeah, you're gonna pick Mari.
Can we make this work for 18 minutes? Do you think? I think so.
I think we could probably go. Was it 18 minutes?
Take the bit.
It was so long. Oh my God.
It was long.
It felt it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot. Hey, I'm really excited to be here because this is like Taran. This is like my first time doing anything like Big Brother adjacent. Mari, this is the first time you and I have ever been on a podcast together. I've now officially, I'm almost positive I've watched more Sequester than I have Big Brother. So
4 episodes.
I apologize to anyone for like the horrible trash takes that are about to ensue. But I'm excited. I've loved the format of the show a lot, and I'm really impressed with like the operation behind it and getting this thing off the ground. So I'm pumped to talk about it. And I know it's like a very contentious week in a lot of ways, and believe me, I'm mad because they got rid of my friend, and I don't like that at all. I'm very upset. Justice for Shireen, I'm very mad. I'm not thrilled about it, but I am thrilled to be here with the both of you.
This season has been really good. I watched season 2 and season 3. I only watched season 3 because Brent and Taran's podcast. Then it made me watch season 2, and so I'm excited. And then I watched the minis. I watched the minis near the beginning of the year. I watched most of the minis, and then once it got near the end of the year, I got busy. And I haven't seen some in a while. Yeah. So this has been really good to watch. I know who most of the people are. I know the backstory, so it's easier for me to keep up, but I definitely understand the criticisms of some of your guests have had about if you don't know that backstory, it's really hard to know what relationships have been formed and stuff.
Yeah, and that's been an issue for me to a certain extent. I think that the first episode spent a lot of time clarifying a lot of that stuff. My problem is like, so I binged the first 3 last week, and then I took a week, and then I watched episode 4. It's like, oh man, I was doing so good, and now I forgot like who's connected to who. But I think like a lot of like the energy in the house kind of hits it for me. And Mari, I'm like you. I watched a few of the Sequester minis. I watched the first Survivor one that they did. I think I've mostly watched like all of you watching the Sequester minis. You know, like I feel like, you know, it's been like a very robust culture that has been really impressive about this niche online, you know, reality experience that has now translated for me into watching. This is my first full-blown season of Sequester, and like every time we get to the end credits every week, Taran, I'm always just like, first and foremost, blown away that Will from America and Aaron Robertson are, you know, are that bop slaps, blah blah blah, all of that. It's so good. It's so good. Stuck in my head every single time. It's the coolest like vote reveal segment ever. But just like seeing like sort of like the skeleton crew that's making this thing, and under the conditions that we're in, like I'm really like, you know, taking that piece separately from everything else. I think what Audrey has created is really impressive, you know, let alone special, but really just impressive to me. I'm really kind of gobsmacked by just the caliber of television that we're getting. You know, based on how many resources are invested into this versus even without, you know, seeing much, if any of it, a Big Brother, or certainly having seen a ton of Survivor. So I'm impressed with the Sequester product in a pretty big way.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a single moment all season where I've felt like I'm missing something because of the production. That
you kind of feeling maybe a little bit that the battle back is going to be like, stop these balloons. Hey, here's a room filled with balloons. Stomp them. You know, maybe you feel like the budget a little bit there, but that's also kind of whimsical and great. I'm here for the balloon stomp.
That's the thing where like
the balloon back.
Like Big Brother back in the day was like throw some rubber duckies into a bucket, and they were like, we gotta up the production. And now the competitions suck. They look great, but they suck.
That's Survivor too, right? Like,
right?
I mean, they weren't throwing rubber ducks, but like I was thinking about that earlier today. Of like, you know, you don't. I think it was one of the Survivor Twitter accounts tweeted out today this image of Probst rowing up in his boat to the people from the Australian outback, being like, "It's pretty cold in the water. Do you want to come down? I'll ferry you to shore." It's like one of the rare moments where Jeff was a human. Was like the tweet, was like the thrust of the tweet, and it got me thinking about like the classic nature of like just how simple those challenges were, and now everything is just like this Uber quest, and it all looks the same. I think that's one of the things that's really hooked me about Sequester is like the game is all. Right, like the twists and like the actual like segments of like the segments of play. That's it. That's the thing. It's the rounds. So there's like no wasted moment, and it's all pretty like simple from a design standpoint, and even from like an idea standpoint, but also like deeply complicated. And like my hot take that I had last week was this is like the closest to the American version of The Genius that I've seen.
That's what everybody's saying. Yeah.
And I think that I mean, like that was like the thing that I said, and I think it's got to be a cold take. I have to imagine I'm late to that because I really do feel that way. Where like every round feels very similar to that. Like great.
I'm still trying to figure out how Sequester is somehow the inverse Big Brother, especially Big Brother 22, like nothing but gameplay, not much like social clips, and yet the boot list is still horrible.
I know.
Why are all my faves gone, and yet this is a better built game?
It really is the complete reverse, right? Where it still comes down to like the competition outcomes, I think. But like it's basically like in Big Brother 22, it was that there was a big group that had connections to some degree, and they were just kind of stomping out the people who weren't who were in the minority, and they just won the majority won all the competitions. In this game of Sequester, there was a majority who had some connections linking them together, and were running the game, but they've lost every single battle match. Every single one. There's not been a single person voted out from this game that has left the game.
And that annoys me. That is literally the only thing that annoys me. And it's not Sequester's fault. It's really not. The challenges are gender neutral, like Brent had said. It's not Sequester's fault. The game is still built in a way that it's fair. It's just the way that the pendulum has swung, just like in BB22. If we had some different outcomes in those early HOHs, something different would have happened. And that's the exact same thing that's happened in Sequester. We've just had really bad luck on who's going home, in my opinion, because those are the people I am rooting for.
Yeah.
But also you just hate to see person who is not playing a good game keeps staying because he keeps winning challenges. Cough, Spencer.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's been so good, but my heart is always like this. And then the people that I love go home, so I'm sad, but also I'm loving every second of it.
Yeah, this is two weeks in a row, especially. You're just like, no, damn it.
It really,
Come on.
there was something about just like for me watching this episode, seeing even last episode, I felt like, okay, like Spencer is like the underdog, like he's surviving as this big group is like, I see the story for him. But then he comes into this episode, he's voted out again. And I was like, this is the end of Spencer's story. Surely he loses this battle match. Surely there's a lot more to get from Shireen. And he stays, and I'm just like, where does he go from here? Because he just keeps doing the same thing over and over.
Unbelievable.
And so it's like I don't know where there is story wise and game wise for Spencer to go at this point.
I think that eventually it just fizzles out. Like
Yeah.
or like can he make? I mean, so the way that Sequester works, right? Just I'm the idiot. I'm going to need some help every once in a while, folks. I'm really sorry about that. But they'll get to the final four and then one's voted out and then they drag someone, right? Like Spencer wouldn't get dragged because he's terrible socially. Who's going to vote for Spencer to win? So, Spencer's outcome is like it fizzles out or he's, final two GOAT would be my guess. As like you were talking about him just like being sort of like he keeps winning these challenges and it's frustrating. Spencer kind of reminds me, he's like he's kind of like the Troyzan of Sequester. Like I keep like, this is my island. This is my coronation. And like I'd like to click him away. Like I'm done. I'm finished. Get out of here. Man.
I kind of think him and Brent could game for that spot. The whole GOAT that you want to drag, type thing. So it'll be funny because like Taran said, where does Spencer go from here? Because that majority alliance is effectively wiped out. It's been effectively wiped out. And if not just from the people who left, the bonds that were broken just from this 18-minute deliberation itself, because I'm imagining the reason why they showed us that whole, that very, very long back and forth is because it's going to have major consequences, for the weeks to come. So that majority alliance is decimated. At this point, who are people going to be gunning for? Do you back off of the big threats? What do we go from here? And I guess one of my biggest questions for Taran specifically is when you talked about Sequester, you would always talk about that moment where becoming a big threat flips and it's what can get you to the end. Where do you see us going with that within this game now? Because from what I'm personally seeing, the biggest threats are gone. So now we're again left with people who are mid-level or low level, which is kind of Sequester. That's kind of what happens sometimes. So where do we go from here with is everybody's threat level now just even, or where will we go?
Well, I think that there are still some big names in there. Like I think Jacob and even Billy. Like I think they're both very well respected in the game.
Yeah.
And so I think that they're still going to be seen as like big names, big targets. I mean, Spencer's obviously a big target and a GOAT at the same time. So like you'd kind of expect him to be a name that you'd stick up there. But at the same time, this is also, the being a big target flipping is, I think, something that it happens a lot on the online version of Sequester, the minis, right?
That's true.
But it may not have the exact same effect here in the live version. And
the live version takes place over how many days? Like a week? Somewhere around there?
5 to 7-ish.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because it is still very fast in comparison to many other shows like this, but the rounds function very similarly to a mini in the sense that they don't get to talk outside of these rounds. They are sequestered. And so it is essentially like they're not hanging out and bonding. They're doing the rounds just like they would be online, but there is more time and interacting in person and like a legitimate prize at the end. Like, this is much bigger stakes, not only in the prize but also in just the visibility of it. That like being a winner of the live version means a lot more than being a winner of a mini version when there's been like 100 mini versions.
Somewhere Puya Zambakili is shaking his head at you. Like, how dare you? How dare you? Disrespect.
So I think because of that, I think people are a lot more likely to like the game meta is going to shift a little bit, and I think that's why we're seeing Muna, who normally has no problem making it through the first half at least of a mini, because like, why would anybody go after Muna? Let's keep her around until the second half. In this game, it's like, no, we are not playing around. We're not going to play that game.
How much of that is based on some of the reputations that people have carried into this game, because there is so much overlap with people who have history with each other from minis or whatever within the Sequester community? Do you think that is a contributing factor at all in terms of like there being more expanded time that you can really like pick that stuff up and those past relationship stuff up, that history, and use that sort of like weaponize that a little bit more in an elongated version of the game?
I mean, it's definitely having an impact. And I think that there are likely some players who are, maybe approaching it from the same perspective as they did when they approached the mini, where they have relationships in a mini, and you can you can win loyal allies in a mini, and after 5 hours they're willing to basically put their life on the line at the end of the game. But I think that if you approach an ally in the same way in a live version, even though again it's somewhat similar, it's not going to play out the same. You need to really have an actual relationship. Within 5 hours you can be like, yeah, I'm best friends with this person, but then like talk to you in a couple days. Right. And it's like, well, are you still best friends with this person? Like, it takes a lot more time and maintenance and genuine connection. And if you don't have that, then that's going to be a problem. And if you think you have that because you know people from minis and that you've maybe talked to them online a couple times, that could also be a problem for you, because again, it's not the same thing. And I think somebody like Jacob, based on what we've seen, is somebody that understands this, and he's really been putting in the time with people to make sure they're with him, except for it seems Rachel and Billy to a degree, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely interesting, and the prior bonds are something that I think to get a cast like this, sometimes I think she found some of these people through their mini games, and so it's like we found great people because of that. But the downside is they've got relationships. So how do you show that? How does it impact the game?
I'm loving it, but I do think like moving forward, there's a degree to which we're like that interconnectivity. It's not just necessarily like a little convoluted from a story perspective if you don't know that history decently well. I think like maybe there is some game danger there, that there's like some like ecosystemic danger of like too many people knowing each other and having too much baggage, like in the same way that an all-star season of a reality show tends to have.
Yeah, but the difference with Sequester, and it's kind of what we've seen in the past few seasons as well, self-preservation comes above everything. The twists are what, like Taran said last week, like you can have a relationship with somebody, you can be loyal to somebody, but if that twist falls wrong and it's you versus them, it really doesn't matter. So Sequester has always seemed to me to just be about surviving the twist. And unfortunately, the people who survive those twists are the snaky players, the players you don't see. The big threats have often gone home first in Sequester. A lot of Sequester seasons, like, Brent didn't agree with the winner last year. I actually like both Hunter and I'm so sorry, Jess. Yes, I like Jessica's gameplay last year. So I get it that under the radar game, we're used to it being boring because of Big Brother, because it's really like normally just doing nothing and getting to the end. But in Sequester, you can be under the radar and be actively playing. The only person I would say who's kind of doing that right now is Marcelo and Josh. Now Josh managed to get, I feel like, under the radar. Natalie is just clueless. She's just clueless, and it's hilarious to watch, but I also Ooh, she's clueless. And it's hilarious to me. And maybe that's just me again. But I love when they're like, oh, when they played her confessional, she's like, people are listening to me. I was like, is there dodo noise there? Because I was dying laughing with her, all her stuff.
Yeah, I think the only other person who, for me, like I would think is like in the category of a Josh and Marcella that stands out to me is Billy. Billy had that whole round where she was the killer and no one knew. She made it out of this one. I didn't even. You can vote for yourself. That's a thing.
Yeah.
You can vote for yourself. I'd vote for myself every time. I'd be like, just make sure that no one's vote. I would vote for myself. No harm, no foul. And I feel like she's in this position where it seems like people mostly until I guess this past round, like she started spiking a little bit more in terms of like maybe something a little bit more adversarial with some people. I don't know, but I love her. I'm pinning a lot of my hopes on her right now because she's great. And that episode where she was killer was like the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. That was incredible.
Yeah, I really last episode I was critical of her move to throw the vote because I was worried about what it might signal to her allies, and it did seem like that came back around this episode. And then she's again throwing her vote, this time on herself, which was definitely an interesting move. But it seems like she managed to talk her way out of this. So. Let's talk through the round, and then we'll get to like every piece of this big confrontation that has so many pieces to it. But the round is actually, the round itself I thought was very good in the sense that it really frustrated the players. Good.
That was such a good twist, Taran. I was like, when I heard the twist, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. When I saw the players, I had to stop. I had to take a picture on my phone. I was like, oh my God, this couldn't have shook out better for the producers than anything. For the players, frustrating. But for the producers and producing drama, this was amazing. It was like every other person was in a different alliance.
Yeah, I mean, it was really terrible draw for so many of these people. With like, Shireen being linked to Brent and, like just people who were linked to people like, oh, that's the consensus vote, but we can't get him out because because he's linked to my friend. But that's great. That's beautiful drama. It really worked out really, really well. And I think like the idea for the round was really cool. This idea of like, running around with like with a human anchor tied to your ankle, and how the hell do you chew your way through that? I think is really, really neat. And the whole segment of time that was spent on that was really, really riveting for all the right reasons, I thought.
Yeah, I can definitely see a scenario where the draw does not go the way that it should, and it could sort of not play out well. But I see a lot of ways where it goes right, and I think this is one of the ways where it goes right, where it's basically in order you have to find the least evil choice, right? The lesser evil. What harms me the least? Who are the two people that I can let go the most? And when you're trying to play an entire group of people, that's going to be difficult to do. And different, allies are probably going to disagree on which other person they're going to let go. They might disagree about it. They might have to let go of an ally, which would expose them. And again, voting somebody out is not a guarantee that they're going to leave, as we've seen every single episode. And so you can betray somebody, as they did, and then basically now you're just hanging out in the wind like, oh boy, now they know, and they're or maybe they should know, but I talked my way out of it. But
that's like just a jump ahead. Like that's part of my issue with freaking Spencer's whole thing of like, who's playing scared? If you're not scared, what are you like? This is a terrifying game. Like for exactly what you just said is like you have to make a hard call, and you then have no agency over whether like the hard call you made is going to pay off, because it's based on a system that's completely out of your hands at that point. So if you aren't scared shitless playing Sequester, I got to imagine you're playing the wrong game.
Yeah,
nerves of steel.
Like even if you did subscribe to the idea that like throwing your vote is playing scared, which I don't, but even if you did, it's so easy to say that from a position where he has nothing else to lose. Of course,
Right.
Spencer's going to vote for the person he needs to go because he needs his vote to be on that person because he's got nobody else. If he was in a different position, he'd probably be playing differently. Like, you're not always going to, like, when he decides, if he was running the game and he decided that it was time for Jacob to go, is he going to put his vote on Jacob when he knows everyone else is? Or is he going to move his vote off because he knows that Jacob would drag him if he voted for him and he knows he'd just expose the vote? Like, you know, the game of Sequester is about choosing your moment, about when you do vote that way, when you don't vote that way. And absolutely, if you're throwing your vote all the time, doesn't mean you're playing scared necessarily, but it does mean that you can't be trusted to cast a vote a certain way, and that's not going to be good for you in a certain context. So, but yeah, it's always, I feel like this always happens where, like, the person on the bottom always comes up with, like, well, the reason that I'm at the bottom is that everyone else sucks.
It's Troyzan. That's what I'm telling you. It's
Yeah.
freaking Troyzan.
Everyone else is doing it wrong. They're scared. They're all at the bottom like me, but they just don't see it. And so it's
You're all playing scared. Yeah, it's just that all the time.
And your quote last week, Taran, knowing when you need to throw your vote, when you can get away with it, and not throwing your vote when you can. Did I write that right? I probably wrote that
Close
wrong.
enough.
But anyways, I thought that was a perfect point, because to say that throwing your vote is a weak move in a game like Sequester, where all of y'all have played a million minis, you know this happens all the time. And you even know that sometimes when you throw your vote, the person you threw the vote on goes home. So, like, why are we really saying this is the pinpoint of the reason? And then yet, like, when people give their reasonings for throwing their vote or why they voted for people, it's like concrete, logical, and then you admit that it's logical, and then you're like, but anyways, come on down to the battle match. Like, it's just we're just trying to make things up. Just pick who you want and let's keep it moving, like, at this point, because it is just it was long. But sorry, back to the first thing we were talking about. Do you have the tethers? I don't know if you wanted to, if you were about to read the tethers, Taran, but I just thought this was.
I need the refresher on the tethers, so if either of you could do that, that would be swell. That would just be so good.
Yes. Do you have them, Mari?
I do.
Go for it.
Please, thank you.
So Billy was tethered to Spencer. Spencer was tethered to Jacob. Jacob was tethered to Natalie. Natalie was tethered to Josh. Josh was tethered to Brendan. Brendan was tethered to Rachel. Rachel was tethered to Josh. Oh, sorry. Marcelo, sorry. And then Marcelo was tethered to Shireen. Shireen was tethered to Brent. And then Brent was tethered to Billy. Like, it literally is like, just everybody from the opposite alliances are between people from other alliances. I was so amazed at this. So this was amazing.
Yeah,
and yeah,
we end up with a 3-2 to 2-2 to 1.
Oh my God.
Vote. And so I think in order to, like, properly go through the voting process, we have to, like, figure out what was the reason behind each one of these segments of votes, right? So obviously everyone is pissed off at Spencer because he chose Muna for the battle match, and she was like, hey, you are talking down to me, like, I don't appreciate this, and they felt like this is not okay, we don't like this guy, we want this guy to go. And so Spencer is the big target, but Billy has drawn Spencer, so if Spencer is voted out, Billy goes with him, and so they need to figure out an alternative option. So the alternative option is, what if we find out who did Spencer draw? If we can vote out the person that Spencer drew, then he will go out with that person and Billy will be safe. So they don't know at first because Spencer has not told them yet who he drew. And if I'm Spencer, I'm not saying.
Sure, yeah, you got to know. Yeah, you're tallest target in the land.
So Spencer does two things right away that I'm just like, why? He goes to Brendan and he says, hey, Brendan, first of all, watch out, because another thing that's happening right now is that Natalie is making a move on you. Natalie's trying to get votes to be put on you, Brendan. Watch out for that. Why is he warning Brendan when he's a big target and votes going on Brendan is good because it's not going on him? I don't know. But he does it. He also tells Brendan, I drew Jacob. Both of these things are going to backfire on Spencer dramatically because Brendan is going to go to Natalie and say, hey, Natalie, no. Don't do this. If I get voted out, I'm dragging you with me. And she's like, okay, well, guess I'm not doing that anymore.
So was Brendan the only person that Spencer told that he had Jacob? I'm trying to remember the round in my head.
I believe, he may have eventually told like other people like Brent or something, but I don't think we saw it. Like what was shown to us was Brendan is the one that told Billy and Shireen and Rachel that, hey, he has Jacob. And that's when they were like,
well, there you go.
So again, if he knew that he told Brendan, then Brendan votes for him later on. It's just like, how has he not put two and two together that Brendan has actually not been helping Spencer, at least for these past two rounds? This round, definitely, because his name was on the chopping block, but last round as well, Brendan was not looking out for Spencer's best interest either. So I don't understand how he's not realizing that I do realize it because Brendan is being nice to Spencer's face.
Right.
Brent was being nice to Spencer's face. Spencer rather have people he doesn't know coming after him than his open enemies, aka Muna and them. Like me personally, if I have an open enemy in the house, that doesn't mean I'm not coming after them, but at least I like to know who my open enemies are. And I want to figure out who's talking about me behind my back. And that's where I feel like Spencer he's been lacking. He has Shireen said it, he lacks social game. He lacks any type attack at all with people. And then he just sits there and wonders, why am I not doing good in this game? It's because people don't want to work with me. It's like he has stumbled so many times, and he is very, very lucky that he's been getting these battle match wins. But yeah, I thought that was crazy as well, that they want Spencer out, but they didn't want to risk Billy. But they were willing to risk Jacob. And that was very, very interesting to me. And it made me think of last week when we saw Muna go home, and we were like, how is this going to affect Jacob? And it immediately was right then and there. She was the link to him and the women, basically her other alliance. And as soon as she was gone, it was okay to cut Jacob as well. And I don't understand how he didn't see that coming.
Yeah. And he apparently still doesn't see that Billy is upset with him. Although I'm not sure how upset with Jacob Billy will continue to be. I think that she was like very upset in the moment. But then at the end of the episode, she's like, hey, we're cool. And it's not like she has anybody else left. So I feel like that might be repaired. But yes, I completely agree. You know, Jacob has clearly lost the core of his strength, which, you know, luckily for Jacob, he's got plenty of other people. He's kind of picked up Natalie. He's got Brent working for him. He's got Spencer. He doesn't I don't think anybody has Brendan, but like, I don't think Brendan is coming for Jacob by any means. And so Jacob still has a lot of options. And this was actually, I think, a pretty great result for him at the end of the day, when the battle match comes in. Obviously he's got Marcelo, or at least I think he does. It's hard to know exactly where Marcelo stands nowadays, but
we had that in the first episode, right? Like they're each other's like silent ride or die.
Yeah, and that's like, we got that in the first episode, but then in this episode, it seemed like Marcelo was like, look, I know Jacob's going, but I'm just going to throw my vote here. And he didn't really give Jacob the warning, it seemed. So I was like, that might just be Marcelo playing his game, but maybe he really didn't think that he could have saved Jacob. And so he definitely could have. That was one with 3 votes. But who knows? It certainly seems like Jacob has plenty of other options now. So what we have here is that Natalie tries to get a vote on Brendan. Spencer warns Brendan. Brendan goes to Natalie, shuts it down on Natalie's end. Natalie can now not vote for Brendan anymore.
Because he'll drag her. I'm gonna let you know it.
Exactly. Which I thought like was like obviously a bit much from Brendan, but I think was ultimately like the right call. He needed to make sure the message gets sent, and he did shut the vote down. So kudos to Brendan in that regard. Then Billy, Shireen, and Rachel find out that Jacob is the person that Spencer drew, and so the plan comes into play. Let's put our votes on Jacob. Because, sorry, I mean, we don't want him to go necessarily, but if that's what it takes to get rid of Spencer and keep Billy safe, then that's what we'll have to do. And so we get some votes on Jacob. There are still some people that want to put some votes on Brendan. And then there are some other weird things going on. So there are two people that end up voting for Billy. One of those people is Marcelo.
The other is literally Billy.
The other is Billy, who knew that Marcelo was voting. So this is what's really weird to me.
That's crazy. That's such high confidence of like, I'm not gonna get another vote. I can count 2. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
For yourself with 2 votes.
Marcelo, who could easily save Jacob with a single vote, decides to throw a vote onto Billy, saying, I'm cashing in my, from last round. And then Billy, after being told that Marcelo is voting for her, casts a vote for herself in a round where 3 votes carried the day.
Yikes!
Yeah.
Both of these moves seemed way out of left field for me. Like, what are these two people doing?
That's why Billy went into that room and said, "Hey, nobody throw your votes on me. I already have votes coming my way."
She didn't follow her own advice.
Yeah, when she said she already had votes, that's when I was like, votes? I know you have one
I can
vote.
count 2 votes for sure are coming my way. Yeah.
She knew
Pretty
she was
sure
voting for
there's
herself.
2.
That was crazy. That was nuts. What do you, Taran, what do you think about first them aiming for Jacob to hit Spencer, to hit both of them really, and Billy voting for herself?
I don't mind the move to go after Jacob. The problem is that only 3 people ended up doing it. I think that like you kind of need to get more people on board, because Jacob thinks he's with you. Like, you've been working with Jacob, or at least some of you have been working with Jacob this whole time. You have to pay attention to the battle matches. You just do. And I don't think that getting out specific targets is worth putting your own life on the line to potentially be dragged. In my opinion, like I get that Spencer's annoying, but if you can get somebody else out and kind of be clean hands that's not in your alliance, I think that's the move to go with. They did. I don't think they had many options in that regard, but
just because of how things were crosswired, right?
Exactly.
Made it really tough.
I think that their only other option was the Brendan Josh pair, and I think the problem was that one, they liked Josh, they didn't want Josh to go, and 2, they hate Spencer more, right? So it's like, maybe the Brendan and Josh thing is a little cleaner. Those two are a little less likely to choose them for a battle match, it seems. But those are 2 people that they, Josh they kind of like, Spencer they
Josh
really
seems
don't.
like and of course I must represent a fellow Josh. Well, I'm pretty sure, Josh, did I meet you at a know-it-alls once? This was back when I used to drink, and I have like a foggy drunk memory of meeting Josh at a know-it-alls. So Josh, you let me know. Just hit me up. I'm pretty sure that we talked one time. Good on you for getting on a show. What a time to be alive. But it seems like he's indoctrinated himself with the group. They like him. I don't think that, I think that like, he's done the thing of going around to a bunch of people like, I'm genuine, I want to work with you. They also know he's untethered. So like all of the relationships he's making in the game are like day of stuff. I think that like that's like a known unknown, if that makes sense. Like, so like kind of like go back to like, like what you were talking about, Mari, like of like an open enemy, like you like, at least that's a known quantity. And that I think that like, with Spencer ultimately picking Shireen was like, where she stands, you dummy. Like, like she's told you. I feel like she's told you. And I think with Josh, there's like something kind of like known about his lack of Intuit connection. And so I don't think that they're going to want to go after him in a round like this. I think that he's still viewed as somebody who's like maybe kind of lucky to be here, like happy to still be here, and maneuverable moving forward.
But I thought that link, they say the Brendan and Josh link was clean. I thought the Josh and Natalie link, when I first saw that chart, I was like, oh, that's the easy vote. I was like, Josh and Natalie are the easy vote. The strong move, the big move is Jacob Spencer. So, and then but even then you say that, I think Josh.
I think the women felt good about Natalie, though. I think that's, I think Josh and Natalie, both of them felt good about.
Yeah, that's their biggest problem, because Natalie has done everything in her power to like save Spencer. And she doesn't like Billy. And she, like, I get Shireen in them, and all of them do seem to have a working relationship with her. But in the round with this high of stakes, I would have, me personally, I would have gotten rid of the expendable people in this round for me. And that would have been, even from Shireen's point of view, Josh and Natalie, even though I do know she has a close relationship with Josh.
I mean, for me, it's, knowing that Natalie was pushing Brendan, because it seems like everybody knew by, halfway through the round that like, just let it happen. Throw some votes that way. Like, hey, Natalie didn't end up voting for you, but she's the one that started the ball rolling. The whole house went this way. Right. I feel like, you can kind of get away, I think, a little bit easier with that. Who does Josh drag? I have no idea. But with Spencer and Jacob, I really didn't see, like, when they were both standing there and it took 20 minutes to get to the place where I thought it was going to go from the start of it. I knew it has to be. I thought it was gonna be Rachel and Billy. Billy manages to talk her way out of it, and instead it's Rachel and Shireen, and that kind of felt inevitable to me, based on the fact that Jacob really thought he was working with them, and Spencer has obviously been in conflict with them this whole time. So I think they were in a really tough spot. Like it's really tough. It's hard to know where to go with this. But I do think that it's something that is unique to Sequester, which is you do have to pay very close attention to the battle matches, and if that means like tossing some votes away, maybe not even caring who gets, because if I'm looking at this and I say I can put a vote here and I can guarantee this person gets voted out, so I don't, or I can throw my vote randomly and probably not get dragged into a battle match, the odds of you being voted out are a lot less than being pulled into a battle match if you're one of a few votes for somebody. So it's the formula that you have to sort of look at, and with a double elimination, this is the time for most people to throw their vote, in my opinion, which is, I think, part of why we saw a lot of it.
Right. But that's why I think what Shireen ultimately did was smart. Like, and I thought that she was very like logical and clear about why she did what she did, and like even to the point where when Spencer names her, like even Jacob's like, we're already bruising this alliance in a big way. Muna's gone. Now we're putting Rachel in the spot. If we both survive through this, we will want people who are going to work with us. And she has not lied. Like she didn't vote for you. She was straight up about when she said like, I would like to maybe work with you again. I'm not going to do like, I made you like a half promise and I went 100% on the 50%. Like, let's like, some good faith stuff. It's not just that I love Shireen, but like, I also thought that like, that was all so above board, and it felt like such a Bush move to go for her after all that. I thought was terribly played. I mean, horrible move.
I'd been so impressed with Shireen, especially in the last episode. I felt like she was in such a good spot, and I will say I had a little trouble wrapping my head around what she was doing in the moment. After the fact, it's like, oh, that's what she was doing. And I will say, Josh actually joined me to talk to Shireen earlier today.
Time travel.
Yes. And so that's actually going to be released as a separate podcast because we went over on time for a bit. So Josh with Shireen, and then I also talked to Rachel after that. That will probably be released late into the night or sometime tomorrow. So watch out for that. But what Shireen told us is that she genuinely meant it when she was talking to Spencer. She really did. She threw her vote in order to send a message that, hey, I'm not against you. I'm like, let's make this work. And when she was saying that she wanted to work with him, she was telling the truth. And she's
a straight up, she's an above board player.
Yeah.
You look at her Survivor history and she just tells you what's up. She, deceitful within like the laws and boundaries of the game, but like she's pretty cards up. Like I feel like Shireen is she'll give you a little bit to get you going a little bit further. If she's telling you like, I can't give you much, then like you could trust like the degree of your relationship. So like I think with Shireen, I think it ought to be a strength, especially in a social game like this. You do know like what you're getting. For me, that would be invaluable to like know where I stand with someone.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, we've seen Shireen, definitely Billy, and Muna have said everything they've done in the game. Like that was Muna's downfall. She kept telling Spencer, she told everybody what she was going to do, and he viewed that as something he wanted to take out. The three of them, above most of the people there, have been very transparent with their moves. So I mean, minus the Billy throwing the votes and all that, but like that's why I just don't understand why in a game like Sequester, where you have to try and guess people's intent, that when you have people telling you their intent, you want them out of the game. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's such a it messes with my mind, because I personally know I would want more of those people around me, even if they are coming for me, because I'm more afraid of the people who will stab me in the back than who will stab me in the front. But that's just how I would approach the game.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, so I think when I was watching in the moment, I was a little bit confused when Shireen says why did you vote for Rachel, and she says, I was sending a message. Like, I'll tell you more about it after if we want to talk more. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, what is she saying? Like, this just is that would worry me personally. I'd be like, what do you mean by this? Like, but she eventually did be like, she eventually was like, hey, I will work with you. But I feel like by that time, it was like, well, yeah, you'd better say that at this point or be dragged. And so I feel like it wasn't quite as believable. But at the same time, I think Spencer, he's got Jacob in his ear, like, hey, she's gonna work with you, don't worry. It felt to me like Spencer, even if she was telling the truth, it's like, okay, but what does that do for me? Like, let's say if you're Spencer, let's say, Rachel's going against Jacob. Let's say Rachel wins against Jacob. Rachel's still in the game. I don't choose Shireen. I choose Brent or Brendan or Natalie.
Right.
I win. Okay, Shireen wants to work with me. That's great, but she still has her two closest allies, a trio that's like inseparable. Like that's, where do I fit in there? So I can still kind of see, not to say that was Spencer's logic. I can kind of see why that's a logic that could have been in existence.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it was probably the best move for Spencer, but I don't think that was his logic.
Yeah.
But what do you give to the credence of Shireen saying that out loud in front of everybody? You know what I'm saying? Like, her having to sit up and say, I am willing to work with you, listen to Jacob. Like, if you do that in front of so many people, I come back and then you turn on me, your word is garbage. It's less than crap in this game.
Totally.
So yeah,
but her word, like Billy and Rachel wouldn't care, right? Like she'd always have Billy and Rachel.
I mean, like one of the thoughts of doing something like that is then Spencer comes back and like she's turned the key on something, right? By like having this public declaration, by like maybe like morphing the game a little bit by saying like, I'd be willing to work with you. And then after this big fireworks display, he comes back. And it's like now kind of like in order to like continue moving this, keep this engine humming and moving along, like now probably, yeah, you gotta work with him because that's the social thing to do. You made that public declaration. So at least for a round, I would think if I'm Spencer, like I feel like I would trust that I'm good with Shireen for a round.
I think she I think she, honestly, I think she'd probably keep him for a couple rounds.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean,
what his take?
It's again, it's. Every time I start talking about like the best move of a player that's drawing dead, I always get frustrated because I'm like, well, really his best move is to stop being him because I don't think he can win a jury vote.
Because he's done. Because he's done.
So it's like no matter what he decides, I don't think it matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's different. I mean, and maybe in that regard, maybe it was the best move to like, hey, if I can't win a jury vote because, Muna hates me and Billy hates me and all these people hate me, maybe I do need to start like, building a bridge, making amends. Like, maybe I should take out Brent. Maybe that's the risky game that I have to play, which is, hey, I am making amends to the people who I know are not going to vote for me in the jury. And this is the path I'm going to take. It's a harder path. But if I get there, maybe I'll actually be able to win your respect and your vote. So I don't know. Maybe that was the play.
Yeah, but I think you're talking about a level of thinking that doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This would be the point in like the evolution of strategy where like Rob will have like gamed all of that out, and then I say to him, "You're asking for this person to be someone they're not."
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah.
And it's just crazy how we're still trying to get through the episode, but it really all does come down to that 20 minutes and, the final of the episode, because it's just so much just gets laid bare there that it didn't undermine the rest of the show. Not at all, but it was like just another layer of everything that we just didn't see unfolding, and that just everybody knows everything now. It's kind of crazy to think about it, and this format is what produced that. So it's so amazing to really watch, honestly. And we can go over scenarios all day, honestly.
So speaking of the two votes for Rachel were Brendan and Shireen. I believe Brendan was throwing his vote. I believe Shireen was throwing her vote, obviously. So that was another like one more vote, and that might have happened. And then Jacob actually voted for Spencer, which is the only lone vote, which was very weird. So Shireen says, and Brent is in the chat, so we may get a response from Brent. But maybe Brent has an answer to this. But Shireen told us in the exit interview that she thought that Brent had told Jacob to vote for Spencer, and that's why that vote happened that way. But obviously, like the big point here is that if Jacob puts his vote on Brendan, Rachel, or Billy, but Brendan is the big one, right? It would have at least been a tie. And that's Jacob's own vote, right? Would Brendan have dragged Jacob into a battle match? Maybe. I have no idea what Brendan would do.
Yeah, what's their relationship? I don't know.
I mean, at this point, is Brendan dragging Natalie because he said that, like that he declared that pretty loudly? He's like, true. If I go, Natalie, I think we're gonna do this.
Is Jacob close with Josh? Why didn't Jacob vote for Brendan?
Yeah, I don't. So Brent says yes. Jacob thought Brent was voting Spencer. Brent says he was trying to save them both, Jacob and Spencer. I don't know how that saves them though, because you were trying to put votes on Brendan, weren't you? I don't understand.
To be a time it'd be helpful for Mr. Twitter Fingers to be able to podcast about all this stuff. I guess we'll find out someday. Yeah.
So
Brent, break that NDA. Come on, do it.
Oh, he's dying. He's typing
ready.
Up the message right now.
Oh my god.
He says the Brendan plan came together late and he ran out of time to tell Jacob.
Yeah.
That makes more
Oh,
sense to me. That's what I thought might have happened.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
yeah, so if he had had time to get to Jacob, we might have seen a different result here. But so that's how it goes down: 3-2-2-2-1, and there's just enough votes on Jacob. I believe the 3 votes on Jacob were Rachel. Whoops. It's Josh. And
Natalie.
was it Natalie? Yeah, I think it was Natalie.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yes. So those are like Natalie didn't want to vote Jacob. Natalie wanted to vote Brendan. Why did she vote Jacob instead of Brendan? Because Spencer told Brendan that Natalie was trying to put votes on him. Why did Josh vote Jacob? Not because he wanted Jacob gone, but because he knew that if Brendan gets voted out, he goes with him. And he knew about the plan because Brendan was told by Spencer.
This is such a good round.
Yeah.
Jacob probably only gets 1 vote if Spencer doesn't rat that plan out to Brendan.
So Spencer, really, to your point earlier, Taran, like,
snap.
Spencer really just shouldn't have said a thing.
Yes.
Spencer should have been like, I'm going into the dining room. No one else is allowed in. Should have just barricaded himself inside.
I genuinely think he might be playing a better if he locked the doors.
Yeah. Put a
And
few dining room
didn't let
chairs
anyone
up
talk
against
to
the
him.
wall.
I think he'd be playing a better game.
Break the chandelier off the top with his gigantic 7'8" arms, bend the candle bars and put it through the door. Like, lock yourself in. Don't say anything. Stay put.
Yeah. So that's how the round goes. Jacob is voted out. Spencer goes with him, and now it's time for this big show. And there's just something about like having just been voted out, having just been betrayed. I feel like that it's for some reason it tends to inspire you to just like give a big speech in grandstand. Like I don't know what it is about it. Oh, I've been stabbed in the back. I feel a speech coming.
Yeah.
Well,
very Shakespearean, you know.
What is
just
this?
a scratch? Just a scratch.
Ooh-wee.
Well, now
I guess
let me
it's
think
time
about
to bust
this.
off my. Have I told anyone yet about how I'm not here for a coronation? Because now could be the time. Have I used that line yet? I don't really. Yeah. Now
Have
would
I
be the
talked
time.
about how people are at the bottom staying at the bottom?
Yeah,
have I
they're
said
at the
that one yet?
bottom. Have I said yet that? Because I have this coming into. You're all playing scared. That's a good line. Let me say that 1,000 times.
Anybody want cake?
Oh man, I very much appreciate the attempt from Jacob with the "anyone want cake" line. The
was so
problem
good.
is that was the end. It was supposed to end. It was supposed to be end,
Yeah.
silence.
And scene.
Anyone want
10
cake?
more minutes. We got
Yeah.
10 more minutes.
It was like,
of fighting
anyone want
after
cake?
that.
Shut up, Jacob. We're still arguing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it's like the end of Lord of the Rings. It ended like 8 times.
Yes.
It's the Return of the King. Like, just end the movie. I've been watching for 9 hours.
Exactly.
12, it's extended.
I've needed to go to the bathroom for the last hour. I thought it was ending.
You mean more people are coming out of the ring portals here? Like, come on.
There's more eagles?
Yeah. Call it. Where's the moderator? There's no moderator. Robot person, talk.
I've advocated for a moderator, and I've advocated for there should be like
Final
a code
answer.
word. Yeah.
Yep.
Final answer, Regis. Like I'm down. But
Yeah, like there should be a phrase that just ends it like could sure go for a raspberry lime Ricky, and then it's done.
yeah, if nobody else can know what the line is.
Yeah, and then
That's
it's
really
finished.
inconspicuous.
Yeah, yeah.
So right away, Billy is the first one to get into like a big thing about like because they're about to reveal her vote, and she voted for herself, and so I don't know how she plans on explaining this, but Billy, this is a very interesting move from my perspective, because I did not like that she threw her vote last time, and I did not like that she put a vote on herself this time. I thought both of those moves were not great. And this move could have been disastrous, it seems. It's a very high risk, high reward play, and she got the high reward. She pulled this off. But man, does it take guts to stand there and seemingly be like, no, I was with you. I was with you 100%. I was with you. I did not do anything. Like, I've been 100%. Like, if they go through with it and be like, okay, who did you vote for then?
Well, that came
Myself.
up from Brent.
But like Brent didn't have the power to force her to reveal it, right?
Right.
If they had really gone in and like, don't you trust me? Yeah, I trust you. I'm not gonna make you like that. Is ballsy.
Yeah. That was the first time I seen that. Like, I didn't know they could like filibuster them revealing the vote. That was pretty cool. I mean, so that, and this is where I was kind of like, we've gotten off the rails here. And then it just started. But because like they were saying, oh, we don't like people who throw votes, but I want to see what your vote is because you're supposed to be loyal to me. So it's like, so would you have been happy if she voted for you? Or would you, like, I'm confused what you would have wanted from Billy here. Would you have wanted her to throw her vote so that it wouldn't have affected you? Or do you want her to vote for you? Like, I don't know. I didn't get this.
Yeah, well, Billy manages to convince Jacob that, hey, I'm still with you. He doesn't even force her to reveal her vote. This pays off.
Right.
She's not even in consideration for battle match this round. I thought for sure she was going in. And now, even though she just lost two of her closest allies, she's still got Jacob, and she may even have Spencer. Who knows, right? Like, she's got backups now because she never had to reveal that she threw her vote away because she knew Jacob was gonna go, right?
And she's still tight with Marcelo too, you know, like, and if Marcelo is still in with Jacob, like, there's actually, you know, potentially 4 there right now. That could be relatively strong.
Also, I'm sorry, real quick. Marcelo, I loved how you went over this last week, Taran, with Marcelo saying that he was gonna keep that receipt for Billy, and when I have to cash it in, oh boy! And then this episode, he goes to Billy, I might have to throw my vote on you, and Billy was like, okay, It was like so anticlimactic.
I don't 2 thrown vote like this whole like this has been the only plot line. Marcelo has had 3 plot lines all game. 1 is I love Jacob. Jacob loves me. 2 is I hate Shireen. No, actually, I love Shireen. 3 is Billy's casting a rogue vote on me. I'm gonna call her in on that one later. 1 episode later, calling that
I'm
one
calling
in.
it in.
I'm throwing a vote on her, and neither of the votes end up mattering. It's like
He was like, it was like a magician. Like he was like, this is what I got, and then she was like, okay, cool. Like, it's whatever. I get it. Like, you're right. I owe you one. And I was just like, was that it? Like, if Billy would have been like, if that would have been the vote to get Billy voted in, that would have been like amazing. But that didn't happen. So I was like, why did we give him all the screen time for this Owen of the vote?
Do we think that Marcelo inspired Billy to vote for her? Like, she was like, who do I throw a vote on?
Yeah.
And then Marcelo was like, hey, I think you're the safest person to throw my vote on. She's like, oh, that's a brilliant idea.
That's a good idea. And I think I'll do that for myself.
Let me try.
I mean, if it works, and then you get to the end, and like you turn that card over. I even voted for myself one time because I knew you guys weren't coming after me. It's like, it's a resume point.
And I was a killer.
I was the killer. Yeah, I'd be impressed by that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, she's obviously like she's a proven she's proven as somebody who could talk her way out of stuff. You know, like, you know, she's a very good orator. Like, she's able to debate her way out of danger. You know, she really should have been backed into revealing her stuff, and they were like, no, you're fine.
And that's the interesting thing too, is that like she argued her way out of revealing the vote. Like, they were essentially like, Billy, like, and she was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Don't tell me to actually reveal my vote. Don't waste it on me, essentially, is what she's saying.
Yeah, don't waste it.
Which is like, I don't think anybody's thought of really doing that before. And again, it was a very risky play because she was essentially lying about it, and they could have called her bluff. But again, it pays off. So that was very interesting, I thought, the Billy stuff. But then it's like, okay, now now what are we? Now it's been like 5 minutes, and we still haven't even picked whose vote we're gonna reveal. And we're getting fist bumps, and we're getting like, all right, bro, we got this. Who are we thinking? Are we thinking this person, or are we thinking this person? And like, eventually they start like actually discussing it. And I'm like, okay, this is. They're talking logic, like it's nice to see the thought process out loud, I guess. Yeah. But it still takes so long.
Forever. And I think Jacob, I think this was more of a Jacob move, and I thought he did a really good job of trying to glean as much information from people as possible. As from the moment he said, "I want everybody to look me in my eyes and go down the line," I was like, "Dang, that was so good."
That was good.
I hated watching every minute of it. Like, it was so long to me, but I thought that, but I thought Jacob did such a good job of like, even just trying to rein Spencer in, like giving his thought process, like feeding the flames. I thought it was just so good. And I'm going to give all the credit to Jacob, because I really feel like it was him. But I feel like they kind of inadvertently got a whole bunch of people's votes out there. They were like, okay, well, should we check? Let's check Rachel's vote. And it was like, oh no, that's a waste, because she probably I'm pretty sure she voted for you. Like, it was so good. I guess if it's just from having the two people up there, to bounce off of each other, but it was good gameplay. Not so good to watch, but I like. I liked watching it. It was just so long. I just was not expecting it to be that long, guys. Like, it was so long.
Yeah. And so we eventually get to the picks. Jacob is very upset with Rachel for having voted him out. And
Rachel is very upset to be picked by Jacob and not by Spencer.
Yes.
This was funny. It was great.
Yes. Oh my God.
And then Spencer now has to go. And this was actually pretty funny, because I was watching live on Twitch and I was like, who does Spencer pick? He's not gonna pick Natalie, right? Is he? And he goes, Natalie. And I'm like, what? What are you doing? Are you serious? Natalie? Like, of all people, Natalie is the person you're choosing? At this point, it's clear, in my opinion, that he, going back to when he said to Shireen and Rachel, hey, if I get voted in, I'm picking the people I think I can beat. And it's pretty clear to me that the people he thinks he can beat are the women.
Right.
I haven't heard you buck to a man yet, basically, Spencer.
Yeah.
I haven't heard you buck up to a man yet.
Natalie is the first choice. Natalie, I was impressed with, talks her way out of this with an assist from Jacob for sure. Of like, what are you doing? I'm at the bottom too, bro. Like, why would you pick me? That's you want to talk about weak moves? You're gonna pick me?
Karen, when he asked her, well, who's running the game? I was like, Natalie knows?
Yeah.
Natalie knows?
Yeah.
Josh, what did you think?
Yeah, no, that. I thought, well, one of the things that really struck me about it was, we've seen throughout the season, I don't know how common this is on the show, like the equivocation in the choice of who to take into the battle match. And my feeling as a full novice to this world is that, like, I feel like the equivocating looks awful unless, like, when you do the pivot, it's a dunk, like what Josh did.
Yeah.
To Jay West at the start of this. There was this there was this very weak sauce aura emanating from Spencer, and like sort of like a lack of like exuding clear decision making, confident decision making in his choice. So I was left like not only kind of like baffled by his thought process, but like unimpressed with like the way that like he was standing in his decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, showing an indecisiveness, if he wasn't already drawing dead in the jury, it's just like not a good look. Points
for sure. Yeah. Like, I think like you have to step up at that moment. Okay.
Mhm.
And everybody should have seen Jacob pulling the strings. That's another reason why I think he picked Shireen, because Jacob was so Jacob already got him off of
used his
Natalie.
card. Yeah.
Yeah. So now he's trying to really get him off of Shireen. I think Spencer knew he looked bad for the indecision, and he couldn't have, like you said, he couldn't have let Jacob win that second round there by not going with Shireen.
And that's the thing too. So when he decides against Natalie, he's like, you know what, Natalie is right. I was like, who does he pick now? I get it's going to be Shireen. And for me, I was like, if I'm Jacob, I think I'd rather keep Shireen than Natalie. I mean, I think Natalie is, especially now that Jacob helped save her, probably going to be pretty loyal to Jacob to some degree. But I think Shireen, especially like without Rachel, and maybe Shireen and Billy will be more loyal to each other, but that's only 2 people. It's not 3 people. That's much more workable. And like, I think I'd rather like stake my claim with Shireen and Rachel than Natalie and Rachel. Or sorry, Shireen and Billy than Natalie and Billy. But at the same time, maybe not too much. I think individually, I would choose Shireen over Natalie. But I guess Natalie and Billy are kind of at each other. And so he's kind of at the center of that. So I can see that too.
Yeah.
But I don't think he knew he was choosing between Natalie and Shireen in the moment. I think he was just like, no, not Natalie. Whoa, no, not Shireen either. But I don't know who he thought he could get Spencer to pick. It seemed like people really thought that they could get him to pick Brent. But that was like, Brent is the furthest pick, like even further than Natalie. Like Brent is the only person that's actually been working for Spencer in the game, like at all. Why would he ever pick Brent?
And I mean, of course but he didn't even question of picking Brendan, the person who voted against him, who's been working against him. No, not that, not him. He's not a consideration at all. So yeah, I just
look, he's gonna be too good at picking numbers out of sand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really think like from the way that Spencer has talked about this stuff, like when he's like, you're gonna have to go up against me, the strongest guy in the game. So like that's clearly the way he's like looking at these challenges. So he's like, oh, Brendan is roughly my size and we look like the same person. He's just got longer hair. I don't want to go up against him. Like I feel like that is enormously part of the thinking.
Yes. Yeah. And Marcelo just did a good job of just like, and Brent was too until
Marcelo just like Homer Simpsoned back into the bushes.
Well, so like, Spencer was talking to Marcelo like, hey, we're both at the bottom. And I have to imagine that comes from the fact that Marcelo was also out on the majority vote in the previous round. And so he's kind of like assuming that like, oh, he must also be on the outs when that's clearly not the case. But it's definitely helping Marcelo. I still think that, looking for an LOS and being left out on that round was a mistake because he could very easily have been the only sole person out of that vote. But it has definitely been paying off for him, both in that round and I think in this round, to have that sort of, angle to play.
Yeah. And I don't think he should have picked him. I just like scanning the chaos of just people. No, you did. It was just Marcelo in the back like this, like, like, and Brent was this close. Brent, honey, you were this close to just you're good, and then all hell broke loose.
Off like a rocket.
Yeah. So first of all, Brent talks to Natalie earlier in the round, and he's like, "Thank you so much for flipping your vote to save me. I'm holding your hands right now,
very tight."
And she was like,
"Hands, I'm holding them."
She's like,
"We're talking. You got hands, I'm holding them."
Too tight. This is not working for me. I don't trust Brent. And it's like, wait, she doesn't trust Brent? Like, why?
I know we've all, we quarantined and everything, but please social distance. It's too close. Way too close.
It was so surprising to me that in this big confrontation, out of nowhere, she's like, well, Brent sucks. And then she's like, got a confessional. She's like, you think I trust this guy? No way. I see what he's doing with me. I'm like, wait, what?
Like, father figure, he's fathering me. I was so
Who do people think Brent has in this game to be playing other people?
Yeah, it's sort of like the paternal figure of the extended RHAP universe, right? You know, that's great.
I mean, I fully, you can see why people would not be trusting of Brent for sure, based on how he's played the game. But it was super surprising to just hear that. I feel like I didn't get the impetus. I feel like that's the thing. Like, I keep hearing about how Brent sucks, and I keep seeing Brent do things, but apart from the slamming the door in the face, I'm not seeing the one-to-one connection all the time. Why did Muna start going after Brent? I think we eventually learned that maybe it was the Katie vote. Why did Natalie go after Brent here? I don't know.
Katie
She
vote?
remembers the RHAP mini, maybe. I don't know.
I'm still so because he said, "Hey, Natalie, then who's running it?" And then Natalie and Brendan started fighting, and then she said Brent, right? And then she said Shireen. And then it was just a hopping. It was just a hopping. Shireen started talking to put it back onto Brent. How did it get to Billy again? How did Billy end up in this?
So Shireen was trying to get it off of herself, and I think Billy was kind of stepping in to defend the Shireen, and they were trying to put it off onto Brent, who was for a little while staying quiet because Brent should know. Good. There's no reason for Spencer to choose Brent here, which means there's no reason for Brent to really talk here.
Right.
But I think that you reach a point where you're could he just in a passion moment choose me because of what they're saying? Maybe I need to say something. I think the problem
is the moment where ice cold, play that cool.
Exactly.
Clearly, if you get named and Spencer goes, all right, Shireen and Billy have made a great point. Brent, I'm going to choose you for the battle match. Go off! Go off! Boil over! Explosivo! Do it there. But until that moment, if you are as secure in your deal with Spencer as you are, shut up. They're not gonna sway him. You're good.
Well, it's similar to many of the things I've talked about with Brent. I feel like the idea is okay. That Brent has some lines that are going to work really well with Spencer, and I think Spencer is the kind of person that needs to hear those things. Obviously, he just chose Natalie, and so I think it's right to get some of those lines out quickly. I think the problem though is that Brent is not always fully in control of the volume dial or the extra dial. He goes up to 11, and it's only supposed to go to 10. So it just,
we really think it's one notch higher.
Well, it's look, really? I thought about going higher, but then I lose the reference. So Brent just goes a bit over the top here, but he does his job. He survives. He doesn't get chosen.
It makes sense.
The problem then comes from, Spencer finally locks in. No, it is Shireen, and then Billy is talking to Jacob and Spencer again, hey, I have you guys back, blah blah blah. And this is when Brent he's already been revved up. He's all the car has been started and he can't turn it off right away. He's ready to go. He's like, oh, Billy, what are you doing, Billy? Why are you kissing ass, Billy? And this is where just no point. Yeah.
He's the shaken seltzer bottle, right? It's the shaken soda bottle. They opened it up. This thing won't stop pouring out. You would think that it's run out of bubbles to overflow. It's still going. It's been 10 minutes and it's still going.
And this is where we needed
I lost half the seltzer.
This is where we needed a moderator because I feel like both Billy and Brent's games, definitely Billy's game was damaged here in this area. I think Brent, because Brent has I've been wanting to say this for forever. Brent has the Omarosa effect going. You know what I'm saying? Because people expect you to be a villain, because people expect you to be over the top, when you are, it's it's okay. It's just Brent being Brent. And I think you guys said something to the effect of that. But with Billy getting upset, Brent when Brent yells, he yells good points, and him keep pushing that. Who did you vote for, Billy? Who did you vote for? Like that got into a lot of people's heads. So I just really wish there was a moderator, because my two faves game just kind of got a little ding there. But I don't understand why this just it was like one match like lit, like just tiny fires everywhere, and they just could not control it. I don't think anybody can control it, and it's good TV. It's good TV, so that's why they don't have a moderator. But it was just, it was a sinking ship. Sinking ship.
You can do one moderation after a minute, and then it starts to be like long TV.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, that's like, you know, the fights that you see on a show like Big Brother or Survivor or whatever, you know, they're often edited down heavily. And that's because when you watch these things happen on like the Big Brother live feeds, they go on for hours sometimes. And it is not interesting for all of those hours. It's interesting for the first 5 minutes. And then people just repeat themselves. This is just a staple in all arguments, is that people often will just like land on one line. And usually it's a bad line. Brent had a good one, luckily for him, which was, Billy, who'd you vote for? Who'd you vote for? Which was an actually pointed question. But usually it's just something dumb like, but you didn't, did you? But you didn't, did you? And that's just the argument, right? So, like, I feel like you usually don't need more than 5 minutes. Now, there were a lot of different parts to this. So I think in general, I don't think it needed to be cut down that much. But I think that there was also just like, there's sort of a dramatic weight being held over your head when Spencer and Jacob get voted out, which is, who are they choosing for the battle match? That's the thing you care about in that moment. And so the delay between them getting voted out and finding out who they're dragging is just like, I don't care about this right now. I care about who they're going to choose. And the first like half of it was barely even about who they were choosing. It was just about other random stuff. And so, you know, you need to make sure that, I think, like, your narrative is following the right pathway. And the pathway was toward who are they dragging. And for the first half of it, it was like going somewhere else. And then it kind of veered back into who they were dragging. And then we kind of figured out who they were dragging. I was like, okay, but then it was like, but maybe not. We've still got some more. And it's like, oh my God, I'm just like, it took too long to get here. And now I'm exhausted.
Right.
So I think that's important too, because, you know, I think that if this kind of fight had happened, like maybe in the middle of a round, instead of in this part where we're waiting for crucial information, it might have actually played a little better, even without being cut down as much. So
that's a very good point.
Yeah, I think when it's like a result-oriented moment, like, show me the result. And obviously, I think a lot of the fallout from the decision, that stuff's very important. Because, like, no matter what happens next, right? If Shireen battles her way back into it, like, whatever, like, Spencer's coming back into the game, you know, from this moment, the ramifications of the entire, like, dynamic between Brent and Billy might be vital to what comes next. So you have to see, like, a good amount of detail of that stuff to probably lean out the beginning of the whole confrontation. But that stuff, I do think, is, if not in its entirety, vital. I think 90% of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Josh. I think we had to have seen this because it is really going to make waves down the line. That's the only reason I would think.
But like a turning point. Let it in. You know, like, I mean, we are like kind of at not quite a halfway point of the season, I don't think, but we are, you know, we're on the edge of the balloon stump, you know, so things are changing, you know, things are about to change. So I think this was an inflection point. And it felt that way narratively, painfully so.
Yeah,
you could probably make it like it could have been a little less painful. But I think like the severity of it, that impact being felt is we're in their shoes now, and we have to like feel all of that out. So I think that there is some vitality to including a lot of that stuff. It just was long. I think you're right about like waiting for the decision. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, there were certainly people that enjoyed this. They loved, 18 full minutes of just drama. Like, let's go. But like, and as always, like I love Audrey. I love the show. What we try to do here is that I think there were people that were like, it was a little long. It was a little much. And we tried to sort of like pin down like maybe what was the reason for it. Let's try to like vocalize like how do we like pin it down and figure out why some people didn't like it, and maybe that helps them in the future, because I do think there's like everybody loves Keisha's birthday. And that's because they nailed that edit, right? Like not just people that love drama, everybody loves Keisha's birthday. Exactly. And so like when you find it, it can work for like a huge amount of people instead of just some people.
Do you think, Taran, say in the next episode, if some of this stuff it's results from this fight, do you think it would have been better served if they would have did like a flashback and put a flashback in like the middle of the episode as to explain like why this is going on?
I mean, that's something that like Big Brother has experimented with before, where like during a double eviction, they'll do like a retelling of like the drama that happened. And as I think something like that could work. Again, it's all about like what does the audience want to be seeing in this moment? What do they expect to be seeing in this moment? If you're giving them something that is like not what they're wanting, like at the start of an episode can be tough, and I think that's why Big Brother will often have like an HOH competition going at the same time. They're like, hey, we're giving you the content you expected, and we're also going to go back and show you some things. So it's all about sort of balancing, like setting the goal, setting the expectation, and then weaving your way through that, I think.
And I think like if it's flashing back to like stuff we hadn't seen, and now it's like new content. In theory, I think that's cool, but there's also, I think for a competition show like this, I feel like there may be some like Berenstain Bears type effect to it. You know what I mean? Where it's like, like kind of like blending like what really happened, what didn't. Like I think it could get a little confusing, but like I do think like. Sense. But I think like, I think for anything that was like really important for someone's relationship, I think it should be happening chronologically. I think we should mostly see that in sequence. If it's like something that's like a fun note, and so like there's like an element of the back and forth between Billy and Brent, for example, that was like freaking hilarious, but wasn't necessarily like vital to the moment, but they want to like emphasize that tension moving forward, and you want to like cut back to just like editing room floor like trash talk, like that's cool, like that I'm good with.
And I don't think it needs to be said that we are like, I'm super happy with the editing so far. Like, for sure. It's been so good, especially like compared to the last seasons. The look, the feel of Sequester is just so well put together. They do a great job over there. So I hope that doesn't need to be said. And they've been doing a great job with flashback moments throughout the episodes. Even this episode, they had a lot of flashback episodes of showing who said what to who. So I don't think we're sitting here complaining about the edit, really. It's just like, I was expecting one thing in that moment and I wasn't getting it, so it was very confusing to me as to why
editing is hard, especially stuff like this. And I actually think the editing was pretty good in this particular segment, because I felt like I saw the flow of everything that was happening. And that, like, if the argument had gone a little differently, then that would have been fantastic. So like being able to like show the flow of what's happening like in real time is really cool when it's really cool in real life, when it like really works out well. This just, I think more than the editing, honestly, was just a little bit of moderation. Somebody there to kind of like direct the conversation, shut things down when they start to get repetitive, speed people up when they're taking too long, thinking about like, oh, well, what about this person or this person?
Absolutely.
That's I think where it maybe could have been squeezed up a bit. But we are now here at the battle match, and I also. Not to be super critical here, but I also was not a huge fan of the battle match here.
Really?
Were you a fan, Mari?
I mean, I wasn't offended by it. So
I wasn't offended by it, no.
Like, I again love the gender neutrality of it. I don't think anything was overly physical. I didn't think anything. It was a luck based one in a sense.
And I like that
yeah.
part of it. I like luck-based competitions. I'm down for that. Just again, visually, I wasn't sure. Just like
that's true.
I couldn't really follow. I was just waiting for them to reveal the number, and then
same. Yeah,
and then the number reveals were so sudden.
Right.
It wasn't a lot of buildup. It was like, now they're together, and now here's the number. Now it's done.
Yeah.
But as a challenge, I love it. Anything where I just gotta dig around, find the higher number. I feel like I could potentially do that.
And that's
as
the
somebody
good part
who's
of it.
not very skilled at anything. Like that was, you know.
Absolutely. Like I will take a competition that is not super visually appealing or not even necessarily like super exciting to watch, but that works within the context of the game. That's fair for everyone. That adds a lot of
this
like
requires no talent at all. Yeah, cool. I got that. Great.
Like I mean, again, I feel like something simple like you know a little display of like the numbers they found so far, and then like leaving it on a like this person has 8, this person has 7. What was their last number? Oh my God, who knows? They got a 12. Oh my God, what's the other person? Is it better or worse than a 12? They would have needed a 6. Did they get the 6? It was a 9. Oh, there it is. Like I feel like that was what they were missing. But the competition itself I felt like was good in terms of again the function of it. And but the result. Losing Shireen and Rachel, and as we said, the people voted out have remained in the game every time, including this round where there were 2 people voted out.
That's tough. That's a tough statistic. That's tough. And I'm really sad to lose both. Rachel is great. I love Shireen. I think she was playing excellently. Her confessional game so strong. So I was really disappointed. Bummed out.
I am not gonna lie. It wasn't until the battle match started happening and I finally like wrapped my mind around, oh wait, it's Shireen versus Spencer. That's when I was like, hold up. Shireen looked not so happy in her confessionals. Like, yeah, I was like, oh,
I've noticed those sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
So, sometimes you can like it feels at least like you get a little bit of a hint that like this person's talking about how they lost, aren't they?
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Some key phrases. I was like, oh.
Happens all the time when we cover Top Chef.
Yeah.
Like Top Chef, like you can always tell like, oh, they got told to Padma told them to pack their knives and go. Like they left already.
Yeah.
Their knives are packed up. They're toast.
Yeah.
Something that plays a lot of reality TV was just very noticeable.
I don't know how you get around that. I don't think you can. I think unfortunately you watch enough TV, you're like, oh no.
I always look for it in like The Amazing Race. And I feel like sometimes I can see it, but I feel like what they must do is they must just tell the people like, act like you won. You are so excited right now. And they're like, lost $1 million. Be excited. All right, so I got to this task and we were really excited about it.
Yeah, maybe an equalizer there is that even when you're doing well on The Amazing Race, you're all like jet lagged beyond belief. So everyone's just sort of like baseline miserable. Like even when you're in success, you're exhausted. So,
right. Oh man.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we are. There was one other thing about this episode that I did like, which is that Josh and Natalie did finally get together to talk about the Den of Sanctuary, and it's Luxury Row. Is that what it was?
Right. Yeah. Something.
And so I was waiting for that last episode. Like, why haven't they talked about this? They finally do talk about it. Josh is going to deny having anything, which is good, I think. And they just they now have this shared secret. Josh was really like, I want to avoid having more and more people learn about this secret. But I mean, think about now, who knows? Like Jacob is going to go to Luxury Row. Spencer's going to go back. And we were just
Jacob's
talking.
The only new person who's going to know about it.
We were just talking about how potentially these 4 people could come together. or like something along those lines. You know, we were thinking Billy maybe, but like if Spencer and Jacob come to Josh and Natalie, because we know that Jacob and Natalie already have a connection, that could genuinely be something that bonds together a new group when this whole field is just blown wide open. I could really see that being potentially a new thing moving forward if they have the time and the impetus to like go and talk about this thing.
Yeah. I think Jacob is gonna there's no more other alliance left. I mean, minus one of them come back in, but with both Shireen and Rachel going, the original alliance of Shireen, Rachel, Muna, and Billy are decimated. Billy's the only person left, barring whoever comes back in.
Yeah, at best one more. Yeah.
Right. And it was the four of them plus their loose offshoots that was the top of the house. They're gone. So Jacob was voted in by those people, basically. But he'll probably go with like you said, Josh and Natalie. So I'm saying Jacob is turning rebel leader. He's gonna get the people who are at the bottom, plus Marcelo, and I think they're gonna continue to then try and get out the rest of the remnants. So I think Billy is in a very dangerous spot right now. I'm interested to see where Brent lies in all of that.
I mean, Brent continues to look. It looks like Brent just continues to like. Nobody has Brent's. Like nobody wants to work with Brent. Nobody seems to be thinking about Brent and their plans. Like even Spencer.
It's giving us podcasters a bad name for the next podcaster who hops into Sequester. This is bad.
But does it seem like anybody's like actively shooting for him? I mean, other than Billy who has no power.
Well, here's what I'd like to see from Jacob. He goes to Luxury Row. He now knows that these other three people have been. I want him to go to Spencer. I want him to go to Natalie, and I want him to like be like, hey, can we pull in Josh? And I want him to solidify a group of Luxury Row people. Then I want him to go to Billy and be like, we lost Muna, we lost Shireen. Well, I don't know what Rachel was doing, but I know you had my back. I know you can trust me. We don't have anyone else other than each other now. He needs to pull in Marcelo and be like, it's us three, I guess. Like, that's what we've got. He needs to tell Marcelo, like, hey, there's a Luxury Row thing. Spencer and Josh and Natalie, they've all got this luxury. I went to this place. They're trying to hide it from this. One of them has an LOS, I bet. And now he's got, like, two little groups going on. And you've got, like, Brent on the outside.
Brendan, Natalie.
Yeah, Brendan would be on the outside too, but Brendan and Brent on the outside of a structure like that would be pretty good for Jacob if he could pull something like that off. But there is one thing that could throw a wrench into that, and that is balloons.
This is the part where we say congratulations on a text. The balloons just pop up, right? Or is it confetti? I don't remember how it works.
Either way.
Don't talk about confetti to Big Brother fans.
Okay. Oh, sorry. You know,
hasn't been enough time since BB21.
Trying to not step on anything here.
Josh, who do you
other
want
than
to
a
see
balloon?
come back? Who do you want to?
I want to see Shireen. She's my friend. I want my friend to come back. I'd like to see Shireen come back, but I also love Muna. I would love to see Muna come back. I would be most happy with either of them returning to the game. I feel like both of them, to me, feel like they have narrative unfinished business, and especially Muna in that regard. The line of like, I'm here to be the main character. Like that feels like that story needs to continue. So I would love either one of them to come back. That's who I hope steps on the right balloon.
Yeah. So how this works is, and I was so surprised. I was like, we're getting a tease for the Battle Back Challenge, and I was like, we're getting the Battle Back Challenge, and then I was like, we're getting a cliffhanger. But the goal is to pop the balloons. There are two prizes. One is an LOS that you get to will into the game.
Yeah, there's a raffle ticket.
Yeah, and that one to me was just like again, that was like a Devin, like this is not an advantage. Like what are you do? Why are you giving this? Why do I care? This does nothing for me.
It's the fake golden ticket that one guy gets before
Jay
Charlie
West.
Bucket gets the real deal.
Oh yeah.
This might as well be you're kicked off the jury for all I can. Like, this does nothing for me. And then the other one is you go back into the game. That's the one you want. At the end of this segment, we see Jay West going,
Right.
and we see Muna, who seems to have found something. She's crying, I guess, is I think Katie's description. It really felt like they were trying to imply that Jay West got the ticket back in and that Muna may have gotten the bad thing. But I think it's reversed.
Switch it. Yeah.
I think Jay West found a thing and he was like, yes, and he didn't look at it. And I think Muna looked at it and she was like, oh my God, I'm getting back into the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that tracks.
Why did they give us that much? Like, I would like.
It's an early gift. 'Tis the season. We're not gonna be here for 2 weeks. Here's like,
there
if
you go.
this is the thing. This is what's happening.
Let's mull it over for 2 weeks. Like, I was like, oh, okay, a little teaser.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still going. Oh.
Or it could be like a total trick, and maybe Muna thought she had a paper and didn't, and that's why she was upset. Or maybe Jay West is like, I don't know, holding a balloon in his hand. Like,
It's
who knows?
possible that the stomping of the balloons and all it could be scary. All that noise. I would cry.
It startled him.
After like a cavalcade of balloon stomping, I might lose a little bit of myself.
No, but maybe it's just me. Maybe I do wear glasses, but like I went back, it looked like a red piece of paper in Jay West's hand. I was like, you gave us it all. You know what I'm saying? Either he has the LOS or he's the winner. Like, did I not see that? Is that just me?
I thought I saw papers being grabbed. Yeah, like I thought I saw something.
Because the balloons were blue and purple.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't pay attention to colors. I was just hoping for like a big dog pile. Personally, I was hoping for like somebody seeing it and then somebody noticing somebody seeing it and then both of them dive for it and then everyone else dives for it and that's what it cuts away from. That would have been fun. But
what's
obviously
the move? You just like cannonball into the middle of the balloons, right?
You just dive.
Yeah,
just dive in.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that could be a fun scene. I look forward to the start of the next episode with all that balloon stomp. Seems fun.
So Taran, this battle back. What season 2 was just the pointing, right?
Season 2 was great. So in season 2, they played the circle game to get back in, which is that at the end of a certain time limit or whatever it is, everybody points, and whoever it gets the most points at them is out, and they just do that in a circle until there's one person left. And so that was awesome. Hamza did a really good job of like running that whole thing, getting the last two people to go against each other, and then being the one to return. And then last season it was some kind of like endurance, I think.
That's what I was trying to think. I was trying
to remember standing
what
outside
last season
blindfolded
was.
And they had to like stand as long as they could or something. And then this season it was
Stomp on Balloons.
Stomp on Balloons. Yeah.
It was Balloons Tower Defense 6. Great game. And
fun.
So I don't know. You can't have the circle every time, obviously.
Right.
But I do really love I love the social kind of game to get back in. I for as much as I love random competitions, I don't love the random competitions to get back into the game. I feel like those are like endurance
with the stakes being this high. You think it needs to be a little bit more meaningful.
Yeah, I think I like endurance is great because it's like who wants it most. Who wants to get back into this thing?
Jeff, is that you? Oh my God.
You're playing for all the fixins here.
Wow, it's like I'm here with Jeff Probst right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about everything.
The circle game was great because it's a very social thing, and like the person coming back in is probably like the most primed to do well because they just won a social game to get back in. And then this was all right though. Like this was fun. Rachel has a great line that the balloons are not louder than Brent. And she didn't know that was possible.
Oh, it's so funny.
Rachel. Yeah.
But this was fun. I liked. I feel like we needed a little bit of like something to bounce us back from.
I think that's right. I really appreciate that as well. For there to be like a little bit of levity at the end of what was otherwise like fairly nightmarish. It was just like you didn't need to give us that. Thank you. You know, like to give us like sort of that little like final dose of like, there's some people that you really like fighting over balloons.
Yeah, I wasn't mad at the teaser. I just kind of a little less of it, so I'm not over here racking my brain.
Yeah.
But that's the point, I guess.
I mean,
so.
we could have had like dramatic music and like a cool like Reservoir Dogs walk in, right? Like we could have ended on that, right?
This is like how they did the Winners at War.
Yeah, that's what they
no.
Which I thought was great personally.
Yeah.
But then that said, like then the Winners at War, I feel like the problem I had with that one is that like they started the episode with the competition, and it was just like, whoa, too abrupt, not enough build up to this. Like what tight? I don't know, spoiling. This person's back already. So it's tough. The cliffhangers are always very I think usually cliffhangers are bad. So I actually don't mind a whole lot that like we kind of think we know what happened. That's true. So like when we come back, it won't be so out of the blue. That it's like
give you a little something. At least like if the stakes are kind of defined like that. Again, without spoiling anything in terms of people involved, like the best Survivor cliffhanger that comes to mind for me is Exile Island, the first one, Panama, and that going into the finale, that there's like there's two people who are involved in a thing, and only one of those people will make it through. And so like I appreciate, like, thank you for making it very clean for me. It gives me something to be excited about going into the next thing, something to like, oh, is it gonna be this person, is it gonna be that person? I think that can be very fun. The cliffhanger can be really hard to pull off well in a series that is a genre of television that is defined by you expect results at the end of the hour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's what we have for episode 4 of Sequester season 4. We will be back 2 weeks from now, taking a holiday break, when we will eventually see, I think, is it the 3rd? Am I remembering that right? Yeah, the 3rd of January.
The 3rd, yeah.
The 5th episode will air, and then we will be back on the 4th, that Monday, to recap it all. See who's coming back, how that's going to impact the game. Which foot will Brent stick in his mouth next?
Try both. Do both.
Yeah. At the same time.
Yeah. Do both. Let's see it. Ratings. We got the ratings.
This is so good. This season has been so good, and it's just a testament, I think, to. Again, Audrey, the team, all that. But like, I am so invested in every person in this cast that it is just heart. Like it just, my heart hurts watching because I can't take it. But it's been so good. And it's been just, I want to thank them because we keep saying it's the exact opposite of Big Brother. It is literally the exact opposite of Big Brother. We needed something like this after the slog that was All Stars, and I'm enjoying it. I don't know if I'll be alive by the end of the season, but I'm here for the ride because they're really. I mean, I have my Fitbit on while I'm watching, and it is just up and
Spiking.
down, up and down. Yeah. I love it. I'm so glad I could be here also to talk with you, Taran and Josh.
Yes.
So, yeah.
No, 100% the same. And like, I hope that that's true because I, even without being in the Big Brother waters, like you can't help but get some splashback. And so like, I certainly like the taste of the ocean that I got was that it was a tough season for a lot of people. So if this has been better, then I'm happy for everyone who is in that boat. Tough times right now. So if there's like quality entertainment in this realm, treasure it deeply. This has been a blast and very fun to talk to both of you about all of this stuff.
Yeah, and Audrey has done such a great job. Her whole production team, the cast has been so like everybody's bringing their A game. Everybody's being a good sport about us joking around about them, and so
Yes.
very, very much appreciated.
You are more than your television character.
Yes.
You are
Yes.
much more
Exactly.
than reality television prognosticator's assessment of your television character.
Yes.
Yes.
Be
and-
yourself with pride and self-knowledge and be good to yourselves and others.
You're bringing us all so much joy. So, you know, thank everyone involved. It's been a lot of fun so far. I'm definitely looking forward to the next batch of these episodes. So, thank you guys so much for joining us. Mari, where can people find you if they want to hear more from you?
You can find me on Twitter at Mari Talks Too Much. That's 2 like the number 2. I'm there. I'm constantly talking about Sequester, Bachelorette, any and everything. Drag Race is coming back. Yes. I always say, feel free to at me. I'll probably at you back.
All right. And Josh.
Ironically, I'm the one who says, don't at me.
Exactly. I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah, so at
There you go.
Mari, don't at me.
If
but
you
I
have
am-
any questions or comments for Josh, at Mari about them.
Yes, that is it. That's the move. At Round Howard, that's where you find me. Doing scripted TV nonsense over at Post Show Recaps, both in front of and behind the Patreon, patreon.com/Post Show Recaps. We're having a fun time with all that stuff, with Community, Lost, Star Wars, you name it. If you're looking for scripted content, we've got good stuff.
Star Wars is the place to be.
It is.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is cooking with gas right now. We just closed out The Mandalorian with Kevin Mahadeo and LaTanya Starks. We've got a feedback show coming up. This is just tip of the iceberg stuff. If you like Star Wars, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. We got a long time to go before we're done talking Star Wars.
And
So much Star Wars coming
Yes.
out.
and a long far away as well.
That's part of the joke. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran and on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. I am watching these episodes of Sequester live to give live reactions as we go. And that happens on Sunday nights after hours of gameplay playing Among Us with Puya and the crew.
Yes.
Having a lot of fun
So
with
fun
that.
watching that.
And we've recently been doing it where you can hear each other as you run around the map, which is very fun, especially as you convince them that you're innocent right as you slice
Kill them.
your throat.
So wait, you're talking to each other while you're playing now?
Yeah.
You've lifted
So
the
now,
band.
now you have to be like a full-on actor the whole time.
Amazing.
And be like, Jenny, don't kill me. Please don't kill me. And then you kill her.
Stab, stab, stab.
Wow.
And then she's like, ah!
Wow.
Murder.
Wow. That's some next level shit.
It's very
Love
fun.
it.
It's very fun. Make sure you check it out. You can find me again on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. I also will just stream. I'm streaming tomorrow at noon. Just chatting with people. I think Lita might join me, and she likes to give me pop culture quizzes. Where I don't know about pop culture and she does, and she quizzes me on things that everybody knows.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
It's nice to be put on blast for things you don't know. Like basic
Last
stuff
week,
that you should know.
I learned what WAP.
Oh my
Means-
God. Okay, I'm done.
So when I
Yeah.
saw Shireen's earrings, I was like, hey, I know that reference.
Yeah.
I'm done.
What a player.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and we will see you next time.